Trilogy Outliers says, I was thinking about shop labeling the other day, and I was wondering, have you ever thought of turning your handwriting style into a printable font? Yes, I have. And there are two makers who I think have the most incredible writing styles for labels. You are one, and Laura Kampf is the other. I am delighted to be included in the same sentence as the inimitable and amazing Laura Kampf. She does have amazing handwriting. It's absolutely true. Here's why I'm not going to build a font with my handwriting. Because it's just not going to be good enough. I'm a believer that everyone should have a little bit of graphic design under their belt. Because I think that graphic design is a discipline which improves all the other making disciplines. It requires you to understand form and narrative and function and communication in a way that is very direct and immediate. And my graphic design background has made me better at all the other things that I do. And if you delve a little bit into graphic design, it is a very short leap to make before you are somewhat of a font nerd. And being a font nerd is, I appreciate nerdiness about fonts because letter forms are amazing. They are way more difficult than most people realize. They can elicit such beauty just in the juxtaposition between a good serif font and a sans serif font. My two favorites are Futura Extra Bold and Caslon. Oh man, the cover of my book, Every Tool is a Hammer, is Futura Extra Bold and Caslon. Because they were like, do you have font thoughts? And I'm like, yeah, I have font thoughts. Let's get to it. So the moment you become a font nerd, it shows up in your handwriting. And it's so funny. I was one of those kids, I know they don't teach cursive anymore, but when I was a kid, I kept on being put in the remedial zone because my handwriting was so unreadable. And I remember my teacher, Mrs. Emma Russo, calling up my parents and being like, he really could use some help with his handwriting. And my dad, who was an amazing illustrator, was like, you should be thinking about writing like drawing. That was his advice, was you are using a line to tell a story, and you can tell the story of the letters by having that consciousness. And I kind of understood intellectually what he was saying at that moment in time, but I don't think I really understood it from a drawing, font, layout, graphic design perspective until 20 years later. And there's a thing about writing in your handwriting on a thing where each letter's form, shape, and spacing is being informed by the one in front of it. I mean, every single one of the labels on my slate is some of that, right? So that each letter that I'm laying down is sort of responding to the letter next to it. Good graphic design is doing that all the time. You would never just lay out a title of a book like this in the normal font and a normal word processing software. A good designer would go in and blow that way up and make sure the kerning works across all those letters and the spacing feels super balanced. It is such a refined and beautiful art form to make letters work with each other. Oh man, is it amazing. Seriously, font, there is very little bottom to that rabbit hole of font nerdiness, which is why I love it. But it's also why I'm never going to have a font made, because every font made from handwriting, I can just feel it. I can see those letter forms. Every one of my A's is a little bit different. Every one of my R's, every one of my S's. And that's part of the personality of the thing. And the moment you try and codify that into a printable font, it kind of dies. Now, it could be actually that AI could be utilized within this to create a more dynamic font. And I'm probably ignorant of several products that are already doing that. But your standard Fontographer, which is one of those first pieces of software that came out for the Mac in the early 90s. I remember mucking around with it, trying to get some calligraphic looks. And yeah, so no. But if a font could be made of anyone's handwriting, I would like a font of Laura Kampf's handwriting. I just don't think it's possible. Um, let's see here. Michael Schnell now wants to know, how does Adam feel about Comic Sans? Yeah, I recognize Comic Sans for what it is. I'm not appalled by it. I always find it hilarious, and my all-time favorite commentary on Comic Sans is in McSweeney's. It's a whole essay by Comic Sans titled "I'm Comic Sans, Bitch," and it's you should just go look for it right now and read it because it's wonderful. Are there any fonts that I totally hate and can't abide? I mean, there are definitely some sans serif fonts that are almost Futura that make me crazy. But that's just because, it's not because they're like failures as fonts, they're just less pretty. Let's see here. With John Paul Malloy, with all the Lego love you show, I'm curious if you have ever visited the Lego headquarters in Denmark. No, I have not yet. I have been invited several times. And I'm totally, next time I am over there and I've got one extra day and I can get to Lego, I'm letting them know I'm coming, because this is the thing. Lego is Lego, and they basically said, we'd love you to come speak. We're not going to pay for your flight. Just let us know when you're in the neighborhood. Just totally fine. I'm dying to go. I have many friends who have worked hand in glove with Lego, who have designed for Lego, who I think I have a friend who's heading over there in the next couple of months. So yeah, it's totally in the cards. Lego, I would love to come there and hang out. There's literally a fly on the camera. Hold on. All right. Like, why does the camera seem to be focusing itself? Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support us even further, you can by becoming a tested member. Details are, of course, below, but it includes all sorts of perks, and we're building them all the time. You get advanced word and behind-the-scenes photos of some of our projects. Questions, you get to ask direct questions during my live streams, and we have some members-only videos, including the Adam real-time series of unbroken, unedited shots of me working here in the shop. They are weirdly meditative. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you on the next one.